Hello, my name is Sherwin Nedaei Janbesaraei from the Institute for Cognitive Science Studies in Tehran, Iran. This is a pre-recorded presentation for the 2024 meeting of the virtual MathPsych. Our topic is proposing a joint spiking neural network and neurally inspired evidence accumulation modeling approach to human lexical decision making. This work is conducted under the supervision of Professor Jamal Amani Rad. To outline the structure of our presentation, I will commence by discussing the motivation driving our research. Subsequently, in the research background section, I will briefly touch upon the foundational concepts and previous studies that underpin our work. Transitioning to the next section, I will delve into the methodology. Following this, the results section will showcase the primary discoveries of our research. Lastly, I will summarize our main findings in the conclusion. In this point, let us focus on motivation behind our study. Our research is driven by the potential of merging spiking neural networks and neurally inspired models of evidence accumulation to delve into human cognitive processes. The emergence of spiking neural networks as the third generation of neural models has captured the interest of researchers in computational cognitive science and neuroscience due to their promising capabilities in modeling cognitive processes. Recent studies have also seen a surge in researchers incorporating neural principles into evidence accumulation models. Leveraging these strengths, we seek to investigate whether joining these approaches can provide insights into the intricate process of word perception. In precise, we are interested in examining how specifically word frequency, referring to the frequency of occurrences of a word in a language and context that is considered as an important lexical feature, impacts participants' response times in lexical decision tasks. In addition, we are also interested in exploring the feasibility of utilizing neural activity and spiking patterns to accurately predict response time. Now let's explore the theoretical underpinnings of our research. To begin, let's provide a brief overview of the lexical decision task. This task stands as a fundamental and extensively utilized experimental method in word recognition, crucial for examining lexical processing. In the LDT, participants are presented with the strings of letters that may either form words or numbers. Their task is to discern by pressing a button whether the presented stimulus constitutes a word or a non-word. For our study, we opted for a relatively simple architecture of a spiking neural network, utilizing the leaky integrate and fire model for its simplicity and reduced computational costs. Now, let's talk a bit about a leaky integrate and fire model. This model is commonly used in computational neuroscience. In LIF model, the neuron's membrane potential denoted as U integrates incoming signals over time. When U hits a certain threshold, the neuron fires a spike and resets its potential to a resting value. The leak term allows the membrane potential to decay towards a resting value in absence of input, mimicking the behavior of a biological neuron. The illustration on the right depicts the dynamics of neuron receiving spikes from presynaptic neurons with different timings. The plot demonstrates the integration of these spikes over time until the membrane potential reaches the threshold, resulting in the neuron firing 3 times in this specific example. On the other side of our joint model, we need a neurally inspired evidence accumulation model. Such model, according to research published in 2023, requires 3 principles. 3 critical features of neural processes in decision-making that are notably absent in the traditional diffusion models, leading to critics regarding its neural realism. First is that neural firing rates exhibit an increase in cells responding to both chosen and unchosen decisions alternatives, indicating that evidence for competing options is anatomically represented by separate processes. And second is that neural firing rates reach saturation at high stimulus intensities, implying that any diffusion model representing evidence accumulation through firing rates should have also limitations. And the third is that neural firing rates are always non-negative, suggesting that any diffusion model representing evidence through these rates should similarly be non-negative. With the foundational theories in place, let's now transition to the methodology utilized in our study. For the LDT data, we employed the publicly available English lexical project dataset for simulation and fitting procedure. This dataset comprises responses from 819 individuals engaged in the task. We randomly selected 100 individuals. Additionally, the word frequency for each word was sourced from Subtelex US, another available database that records word frequency based on English US movies and TV series subtitles. Within the dataset, the ZIP-F measure of frequency is utilized, categorizing words with a value greater than 3 as high-frequency words. To input the dataset to the spiking neural network, a distinct representation is necessary. Hence, we leveraged word embeddings from fast text, offering various advantages such as n-gram. The word embedding of each given input string is a 300-dimensional vector. Prior to inputting the vector into the input layer of the SNN, each element undergoes scaling based on the zip value associated with the given string. To generate the spike train, the scale value is utilized as the lambda parameter for a Poisson distribution, determining the mean firing rate for each neuron. This process yields a spike train for each LIF neuron within the input layer. The first layer is designed to have double the number of neurons to accommodate more intermediate patterns, while the second hidden layer is limited to 100 neurons to manage size constraints efficiently. Finally, within the output layer, 2 aggregator neurons are present, each representing distinct classes. The backpropagation algorithm is also utilized to train the network, achieving 99% accuracy rate on the test set. The diagram in the upper right corner displays the membrane potential of 2 neurons in the output layer across 300 time steps, representing input to the network. In the lower diagram, the spiking rates of these neurons are illustrated. Following this, the trained model was utilized to convert the input dataset into spikes within the output layer. The model translated the given input representation into the spiking rate of 2 neurons, calculating the probability of the input being a word. Subsequently, the spiking neural network model and the neurally inspired evidence accumulation model are linked through 2 mapping functions. These functions determine the drift rates of the accumulators for words and non-words. Now, in this section, let's review the results of our simulations. Initially, let's examine the relationship between word frequency and spiking rate. The plot on the right illustrates that the firing rate escalates as the ZIP-F value increases. The pattern is also observed in the membrane potential of the word aggregator neuron. Using the estimated parameters, we conducted simulation of the model for 100 iterations per parameter set. The plots provided compared the distribution of simulated RTs for each category: high frequency words, left plot; low frequency words, middle plot; and non-words on the right plot. The red dashed line represents the mean value of the simulated RTs, while the green dashed line signifies the true mean value of the participants. The simulated mean RT is closely aligned with the true mean, particularly for non-words and low frequency words. However, across all 3 groups, the model tends to yield longer RTs. The subsequent plot in the next slide may offer insights to help justify this observation. This plot illustrates a continuous increase in RTs for all participants throughout the trials. The steady rise in RTs, particularly beyond trial 250, is accompanied by increased variance among some participants. Post-trial 300, this increase becomes notably more pronounced. These heightened variances and escalating RTs have a significant impact on the model fitting process. Consequently, the model tends to generate higher RTs due to these observed trends. The spiking rate and patterns observed in the output layer as well as the last layer demonstrates the selectivity of neurons to the input data. The provided plots depicts 2 given strings and are identified as non-words by the SNN. The top plots exhibits the membrane potential of neurons in the output layer, while the bottom plots display the corresponding spiking patterns of neurons in the last hidden layer. It is evident that a higher spiking rate of neurons in the last hidden layer, as seen in the example on the right, facilitates a quicker and more confident decision in identifying the sample as a non-word compared to the example on the left. Furthermore, since both examples are non-words, there are similar neurons firing in response to both examples, albeit with varying firing rates. These neurons exhibit selectivity to the input patterns of the non-word examples. In conclusion, the main findings of the study are as follows. The joint model successfully replicated the impact of word frequency by showcasing a higher space spiking rate of neurons. This reproduction of the word frequency effect also translated into faster decision times in response. The selectivity of neurons to the latent patterns of the words and non-words was evident, resulting in distinct spiking patterns for each category. These patterns were then transformed to probabilities associated with the respective neurons. These probabilities were integrated into a neurally inspired evidence accumulation model, which was utilized to predict RT accurately. Thank you for your attention.